Hi all. I just wanted to post a quick video about our reading of The Road. I posted one before. I just wanted to post a second video catching up on some things and maybe give you some things to think about as you move to the end of the book. So I just wanted to touch on a couple things. First of all, I wanted to talk about when you're reading the book. One thing to think about is think about how cinematically it's written. Right, that's when I reread it, that's what I'm struck by. It seems to move from scene to scene in a way. Right, there's a lot of stuff in between where they're camping and reflecting on things. But there's these really kind of like big set pieces, if you want to think about it that way. There's like in the beginning they meet the man who's been struck by lightning, and then uh, you know, they um, they meet the cannibals on the truck, right, where the man shoots the guy who wants to take the boy, and then they find that house with the cannibals and the half-eaten people in the basement, and then later they find the shelter with all the supplies, and then later they find the people camping who are about to eat a baby. There's like these big moments in the book, these big set pieces where they encounter other people and have these really big, meaningful scenes. And to me, this seems very cinematic when I'm reading it. It's very much um, punctuated in this kind of like rhythm by these scenes. And so when you're reading it and you're thinking about what to work on for your paper, these might be things to think about, right? Because these are very important encounters that the man and the boy have with other people, and it really helps them refine and think about what they're doing in this world, right? Remember, we've talked about before about that earlier scene where they meet the man who's been struck by lightning, and it's not like a huge scene, right? But at the same time, it is an important scene for how the man and boy talk about whether they should help this person, right? This is a man who's going to die, right? He's been struck by lightning, as has been said several times. Um, there's no medical care for him. There's nothing anybody can do. If he survives, he's going to be a shell of a man and probably die very quickly because what's he going to do, right? There's no supplies for him to live off of unless you're very capable in this world. So this man is doomed. There's nothing anybody can do for him. The man and the boy could nurse him all they want. They wouldn't be able to bring him back from his state. So, and the man knows this and says, "Let's move on. We won't give him anything." The boy wants to help this person, even though the boy also knows there's nothing that can be done for him, right? The boy's no fool. The boy grew up in this world, but the boy still wants to help him, right? So there's this kind of debate about what does it mean to be a good guy in this world, right? So it's a minor scene, but it's this big. You could really dig into it for your papers doing analysis and really dig into what's happening there as kind of a debate on this larger issue. And the same with the other scenes we see, right? When the man shoots the man on the truck, right? It's a big important scene in the same way. What are they willing to do to survive? What are they not willing to do? Right? You could build that in and talk about that scene compared to, you know, later on when they have a chance to eat a dog. Right? There's a scene later in the book when there's a starving dog. The man, it seems like he's going to try to trap this dog so they can eat the dog meat, but they don't, because that's not what good guys do, right? So you get these scenes that are helping us define what good guys and bad guys are, that what they do in this world. There's a lot of talk about good guys and bad guys, but there's also these scenes where this is on display, right? In a similar way, they find this horrific scene in the basement of a house that they're exploring where there are people chained up. And if you were unclear about what's happening there are people chained up, and some of them have they're like missing parts of their limbs, parts of their legs or arms. So they're being eaten piece at a time, right? So the cannibals will, chop off a leg or part of a leg and then cauterize the wound so that the person doesn't um, uh, bleed out and die, right? Or die of infection too soon, right? That way they can eat what they want and then come back for more and make these prisoners that they have last longer, right? So it's gruesome, right? This is super gruesome. And the man and the boy, they run, because there's nothing they can do. They would like to free them, but there's nothing they can do. They have to make that choice to run. So there are scenes like this that help us determine what it means to be moral in this world, right? There's that great encounter with the old man, Eli. Uh, Interesting scene too. If you really want to dig into that, you should think about he's the only character in the book who has a name, right? And it's not even a real name. It's Eli. You might want to look that up. It's a biblical reference, or it could be. could be a biblical reference, and you might want to look at, who Eli is in the Bible, right? And really tie that in. 'Cause there's a lot of biblical references in this book. This book is chock full of biblical stuff. So that was one of the things I want you to think about as you're reading through, is thinking about these encounters with other people as meaningful points of analysis for your own work. They're really things you want to dig into in your paper, right? You can really dig into some of these scenes. And the other thing I was going to talk about is, as we move to the end of the book, I was having a discussion with a student today, and she was talking about, spoiler alert, they eventually get to the coast. That's where they've been talking about getting to for most of the book. In the last, 50 or so pages, they finally reach the shore, but it's not like they get to the shore and that's the end of the book. Everything's great. They get to the shore, and the boy is disappointed. The man even says something like, "Oh, you're disappointed. You thought it would be a blue sea," or something like that. And the boy says, "It's fine," right? Obviously, kind of papering over his disappointment with this, just dismissal of that emotion, right? But obviously, there's disappointment. It's not the easy life they thought it would be at the shore. It's just another destroyed place, right? So when you think about that, I'm going to post a really short article that's a good, provides some good ways to think about what's happening at the end. So in this very short, it's a chapter from a longer book. The author is talking about the idea of a quest. That every story is a quest in a certain way. And he's talking about every quest has a certain number of features. It has, your questers that are going on a quest. It has, what does it have? What else? Well, the two big ones we're going to talk about with the ending is, there's a stated goal that the questers are going on, but then there's a real goal as well, right? So what's happening in the road is they have a stated goal that they're trying to reach, which is get south and get to the shore, supposedly because maybe it's warmer, and I don't know why they think the shore will be safer. They don't really explain that, or why they're trying to get to the shore. And it turns out it's not great. There's no fish left, so it's not like they're gonna fish for the rest of their life and live off that. There's no great paradise there, but for some reason they're trying to reach they're trying to reach the shore, and they're trying to get south. Right, that's their stated goal. When they get there, it's kind of disappointing in the book and for the man and boy. But what happens after that, and I won't give any spoilers, but the book doesn't end there. They end up encountering other people, other things happen. Some of it's sad, but also some of it could be read optimistically. And this is, the very ending is kind of what they were really looking for, right? So in a way, this is kind of like a quest road novel. One of your prompts is about that, where they're on the road searching for something. They talk about it being, trying to get south, trying to get to the shore, but there's something else they're looking for, right? And that's what they eventually find, in a way, when they get to the end of the book. And this is something to think about as you get to that part of the end where they get to the shore, and then onwards from there. And I'm going to post the article. It's very short. It's very readable. Little article. It's not like a big 20-page academic article. It's like 3 or 4 pages, easy kind of ideas about literature as quests. But anyways, it's something to think about as you get to the end, because you can read this book as a very pessimistic, dark book, or you can read it, especially when you get to the ending, there's a possibility that's maybe meant to be optimistic, right? There is possibility in this world. Pardon me. We can carry the fire and be good guys and all that kind of stuff, and live to fight another day, and carry on, and build this new society, right? One of the things to remember, and I'll sign off by talking about this, is, I've talked about this a couple times, but remember, the road is a fictional world. The man and the boy are fictional characters. But this is all basically a metaphor for our world. It's an allegory for our own world, right? We kind of live in a gray world, right? There's no clear moral rule, right? Some of you are religious and you have faith, but it's not like any God you believe comes down to you and tells you what to think, right? We need to interpret our holy books, if you believe in, say, the Bible or the Quran or something. These books need interpretation. They're not some of it's contradictory and all that kind of stuff. It's not like a step-by-step instruction manual your boss gives to you and you have to follow it, right? Morality in our world is a gray construct, regardless of how religious and how much faith you have. It still is. There's no literal presence of God in our daily lives in the sense that I'm talking about, where there's someone telling you what's right and what's wrong, right? You might have a strong moral compass from your religious beliefs, but those are your own beliefs and those are your own interpretation. Not everybody would agree with that, right? And that's what I mean by we live in a morally gray world. He's just taking it to the extreme in this book, right? In the road, um, all moral authority has been wiped out, right? There's no church, there's no police, there's no neighbors, there's nobody to keep us in line. If you don't want to socially isolate, nobody's going to call the police on you in this world, right? So, this is again, this is our world just kind of taken to an extreme. That's what science fiction is good for, right? Taking something from our world and putting it into relief by putting it into this futuristic, extreme kind of setting, right? So there's something to keep in mind as you're thinking about this, about carrying the fire, good guys versus bad guys, all this stuff for your essay, is that he is really writing about our world and our situation, and what does it mean for us to carry the fire, if you want to think of it that way, for you to uphold your moral compass, right? What's important to you and why is it important, and how do you pass that on, and how do you define someone who values what you value versus someone who doesn't? Are you the good guy and they're the bad guy? Why is that? Et cetera, et cetera. Uh, and I guess I'll leave it there for now. If anybody has any specific questions, please do email me. I look forward to reading the perusal stuff this week. I always love reading everybody's conversations. Even if I don't comment on everything, I am reading it all and um, commenting here and there. Okay, so have a good night and stay safe. Keep washing your hands.